Hi everyone, today we're going to go over the Optics Trainer eye tracking software. So we begin each session with a recalibration process. You can click this button on the bottom left corner of the screen called Recalibrate to start it. And what it's going to do is it's going to boot the Tobii eye tracking calibration process. This needs to be done before each session for each patient because based on how they're sitting and their positioning, it changes from session to session. So it's best to recalibrate before each time they use the software. So you'll see it begin by showing a series of dots. I'm going to stare at the dots until each dot pops, like this. And this will align the system to the eyes so that the tracking is more effective and efficient, so it knows exactly where it's looking on the screen. And roughly takes about 15 to 20 seconds to complete. And now we're finished. So once this is done, it'll let you enter your current username or patient name and age. I'm just going to leave the sample in here and save it. And you can change that as you're playing by clicking this button up top on the top right side. You can click that button and change the user. So we also have a calibration test located in the bottom center. If you click this button, it'll show you how good your calibration is. So based on what we just calibrated, you can see whether it's accurate enough. And you'll notice the screen shows a series of dots. And I can just look at the dots and see how well the blue circle aligns with these dots. And that'll tell me how well it's aligning with the screen. What we can also do is actually change to left eye or right eye tracking. And this allows us to basically work with different patients that have amblyopia or strabismus. You can calibrate the system for one eye or the other, their dominant eye or less dominant eye, depending on what you want to emphasize that day or at that time. Or when you calibrate, you can just have them close one eye to calibrate, and that way the calibration is based off of one eye. Now let's go over the different games that we have. So we'll start with Asteroid Defense. So this is kind of a Cicades game. We have different difficulty levels, each of them which control the size of the asteroids that show up. You notice that there's a yellow dot that designates where I'm looking at right now. So you can see where the patient's looking at all times. And the objective in this game is to stop all the asteroids before they hit the ship. And obviously when the asteroid hits the ship, your ship explodes. And you want to try to survive as long as you can. And as the time progresses, the difficulty gets harder. There'll be more asteroids. It'll be harder to keep up. And at the end, we'll have a high score system here. So I'll go ahead and enter my name here. You can see my high score flashing on the list. And this is a great way for the kids to compete with each other or with the doctors. I know that there are some doctors that like to set a high score at the beginning of the week so that their kids can compete with them. And they can reset the score every week if they wish by clicking the Reset Scores button on the bottom left-hand corner here. So we'll restart this. So easy, medium, hard controls the size of the asteroids, but we can also customize the speed on the custom section here. So I can make this much faster if I wanted to. Let's change asteroid speed to 20 here. Now they're even smaller and faster, just like this, and much more difficult. So the next activity we have is the ball maze. This is a pursuits exercise, and the objective here is to move the ball by looking in the direction you want the ball to go. And you want to collect all the coins in the maze. And we'll score you based on how fast you can complete this. So every single time you play this activity, the maze is actually randomly generated. So no experience is the same every time you play it. I'm going to show you the different difficulties we have here. Easy, medium, hard will change the size of the maze. So with hard, the maze is much bigger. So now it's a 6x6 maze, with easy being a 4x4, and the medium being 5x5. Our next activity is balloon count. So this is a fixation exercise. The objective here is to fixate on the balloons in sequence from 1 to 10. You want to fixate until the balloon pops, just like this. So at the end, we'll score you based on how well you do. We also have different settings as well. So medium hard will increase the number of balloons you see on the screen. Or we can also customize the size here, or have it count backwards instead of forwards. Or you can increase the number of balloons seen on the screen, or even increase the time it takes before the balloon pops. So if you want the patient to fixate longer on the balloons, you can increase that here. Additionally, you can also change. You can turn on the red-green settings, so the MFBF settings here. So let's toggle that on, and now it'll be MFBF exercise, and these will cancel out with red-green glasses. And what's cool about this is we can also adjust what percentage of the balloons you want them in each eye. So if you want to emphasize the green side, I can drag this bar over to the left side and see that now there are more numbers on the green eye than there are in the red. I can put them all in the green eye, or I can put them all in the red, or I can just have it in the middle, and this can adjust dynamically as you go. So our next activity is eye maze. So this is kind of it's a pursuit saccades exercise, and you'll see a series of dots on the screen here. And the objective here is to move as quickly through all the dots as possible, just like this. All right. So you notice that there was also MFBF. I had MFBF on there. You can also toggle that off, and it'll just look like this. For more difficulty, we can choose the hard setting, and that will increase the number of number of circles in the screen. So now there's over 120 numbers on there, as opposed to the 20 or 30 before. So next we have is the hidden objects game. I should mention that half of the games that are available here are touch-based. So this game specifically does not involve eye tracking. You'll have to use either a mouse or touching the touchscreen with your fingers to play. So this is a figure ground game. So kind of like an I Spy. You'll see objects on the screen, and you want to read the top objective. So it says find a bronze coin. So now I need to go find the bronze coin here. You notice that there's a hint there. If the user struggles a bit, we'll give you a hint and show you where it is. You can also toggle it off in the main page. So now it says find 2 red darts. We'll go and click those. And this will progress and get smaller and smaller, get more difficult as you progress based on how well the patient's doing. So let's go back to the main screen here. You notice there's an easy, medium, hard setting. So that adjusts the size of the icons. But we can also choose the icon settings on the right side. That makes it easier for the non-readers. So now it'll show you actual images as opposed to the words. So now it just shows 2 pickles there. So you go and just select exactly what they're showing you. And this will go on just like before. It'll get more difficult as you progress. We've also included a legend on the bottom, just in case you don't know what each icon is. We define them all for you so you can see them here. And we can go ahead and move on to the next game. So our next activity is flip forms. So this is a visualization exercise, And it's a touch-based exercise. This does not have eye tracking. We only have one mode for this, but you can adjust the game length. Along with the other games, you can adjust the game length based on how long you want them to play the activity for. Let's just set it for 1 minute. And what I'm going to do is going to show you one object on the top. And you want to look at that object and visualize it rotated, in this case, rotated to the left. So we have this little box with a number in it, and it's rotating. You see it rotating to the left, demonstrating what you're trying to look for. So if this shoe was rotated left, it would look like this second one here, second from the left side. And now we bring in a new image. So now you want to imagine this horseshoe that's rotated left as well. So that's the first one. So now we've changed the objective to rotate to the right. So we need to imagine this mirror rotate to the right. So I'm going to go ahead and select the wrong one for you, just to show you what happens. We'll give you some feedback and also black out the image. So now you have 3 options left to find the correct image. And so we don't let the user progress until they choose the right image. And there you go, the time is up, so that's the end of that game. So for a more difficult version of the flip forms, we have flip form patterns. So in this game, we have a grid like this. And now you want to fill it in, this grid on the right, fill it in as if it were rotated 180 degrees. So again, we have a hint being demonstrated on the right, top right, next to the text, of what it looks like to rotate it 180 degrees. And we're going to go ahead and fill in this grid so that it represents that. So I believe it's something like this. And go ahead and press the finish button at the bottom when I'm done. Oops, that's actually incorrect. 180 degrees is going to be here. So in this case, it's a similar 180 degrees. We're going to rotate that. It's going to look something like this. And if you wanted it to be more difficult, well, there's 2 things. Actually, if you wanted to remove the hint, you can click on this hint toggle on the middle here, on the right side. Or if you wanted to make it more difficult, a hard setting will allow you to do this same activity with a 4x4 grid. Or if you wanted to be a little easier, we can try the easy mode, which uses a 2x2 grid here. So our next game is Peripheral Awareness. So this is a game that's similar to the McDonald's chart. The objective is to read the letters in the periphery. So I'll go ahead and get started here. You'll notice that there's a red circle in the center with a letter in it. And you notice there's no letters in the periphery. So once I stare at the center, if I fixate on the center like this, you'll notice that the letters on the outside appear. And if I try to peek at the letters on the outside, the letters disappear. So this is a peripheral exercise, and we prevent the user from cheating. And in this game, we're trying to fixate on the center, and then click the letter on the outside, touch the letter on the outside that corresponds to the letter in the center. So you're fixating the center, and then touch the letters on the outside. And one thing to note is that you can still press the letter as long as you've seen it. Make sure when the user's hands are reaching out to touch the screen, they don't obscure the sensor on the bottom. This might prevent the tracker from tracking accurately. So just be careful of that. So we also have some custom settings. So that was on hard setting, easier, it makes the font much bigger. But we can also make this extremely small if you want to make it extra difficult. So let's try this at font 7. So now this is much more difficult. I can barely see these letters. But this is here for an extra challenge. If you had patients that were doing really well, you wanted to give them an extra challenge, and here you go. And again, this activity also works with MFBF. And you'll know this by the MFBF symbol on top left corner of the screen here. And you can click that at any time and then toggle on your MFBF settings. So next we have is Reading Trainer. This reading trainer is a guided reading exercise. It's a moving window. And what you do here is we enter a reading rate, and we can choose a passage from the drop downs here. And then we click start. So what's going to happen is we're going to have a yellow box that you're going to follow with your eyes. And if you notice, if I lag behind, there's an audio feedback. And if I go too fast, there's also feedback. But if I'm staring straight at the box and reading at that speed that we typed in, then there's no buzzing feedback for you. And the objective is to essentially train the user to read at a certain pace. So at the end of these passages, we'll actually give you a reading comprehension test to test on your comprehension. And we'll also score you on how well that you kept up with the yellow box. So the other thing we want to show you here is that because we only have a limited number of passages and at high grade levels, you can customize your own passage by clicking the custom passage section. And I can type in any passage I want, or go on the internet and get our own passages. This is a sample passage. I'm going to type this in right here. Get more passages from greatresourcesreadworks.org. So I can type in any rate I want. Let's just say 200, and I can start this. And based on that, we can score you based on how well you kept on the target. You'll see that right now it's 80%. And because there's no comprehension for this, you can actually read your own comprehension questions after, based on the passage that you pasted in. So next we have is the reversals. This is a touch-based game, and it's kind of a directionality exercise. So we'll show you a series of letters or numbers, and you want to touch all the letters that are backwards or reversed. So I'm going to go ahead and start scanning across. And you'll continue this until you reach the end, and then you press the finish button when you're done. And if you missed one, we'll flash some text saying that you have 16 left, and we won't let you continue until you've found all the letters. So with this easy, medium, hard, we can choose how many balloons we want to see on the screen, which hard showing the most. We can also choose to be letters or numbers, or both, randomized. You can also customize the game length as well. So the next activity is Cicada Pop. So this is a Cicades exercise. What you're going to see is some circles on the screen, and you want to look at the circles to pop them. And it's just a simple Cicada exercise that you can play with MFVF, and you want to just look at them to pop them. So you notice that they're only spawning on the top and the bottom of the screen, on the top half and then the bottom half. That's because we chose the random vertical mode. So there's 4 different modes: vertical, random vertical, horizontal, and random horizontal, each with slightly different nuances. So with vertical, we have 2 fixed points, just like this. And you're going to look from those 2 points constantly for about 10 rounds, and then it'll switch over to another location. Random vertical, which is the way I showed you earlier, will randomize vertically from top to bottom like this. We have horizontal, which are 2 fixed points horizontally, like this. And also we have the random horizontal, which is randomizing from the left and the right side of the screen. So the next activity we have is sequences. So this is similar to Michigan tracking. So what we'll show you is a series of letters and numbers in sequence on top. So in this case, it's QCTONMI, and we want to scan across from the top top level, the same sequence of letters that we read earlier. So Q, C, T, O, N, M, I. And there we go. So this will cycle between letters and numbers based on the time that we specified in the beginning, and keep cycling until the time's up. And obviously, if you press the wrong button, you'll get some feedback just like that. And in this, we can choose letters or numbers, or both. And easy, medium, hard will control how many balloons you see on the screen. So the last exercise we have is a visual discrimination game. So this is another directionality exercise. We emphasize the PDBQs, 2 numbers, 3 numbers, and 2 letters. And I'll show you what that means. So with the PDBQs, we're trying to help the user distinguish the P's and the B's and D's and the Q's. In this case, you see the balloon floating above the bear. It's a B. So we want to go and scan and find all the B's, just like this. And obviously, if I click the wrong one, we'll get some feedback. And then when we're finished, when we think we're finished, we press the red button on the bottom. And if we're missed some, it'll tell you how many you've missed. In this case, we have 6 left, so we need to find the other 6. And once you've completed this, we'll score you at the end. And with 2 numbers, we're dealing with two numbers in sequence, and we'll reverse them. And so in this case, we want to find all the 16s, just like this. We also have the 3 number mode, which basically deals with 3 numbers now instead of 2. And then also we have the 2 letters, and that basically takes a 2-letter word and also reverses it. So that concludes all the activities that we have. Feel free to email me if you have any questions at contact@opticstrainer.com. Thank you.